is another expert on the subject. Pheladi, good afternoon to you. You've got Stellenbosch University's Professor Daniel Malan with you. Let's pick it up from your end.
I do, Jeremy, and we're going to just jump right into it. We're here to speak about corporate governance, and in the recent South Africa's recent history of corporate corruption, we've seen that corporate governance is a stumbling block that most people seem to fall over or take advantage of. So without wasting any time, Professor Malan, we saw in the Steinhoff situation, we were told that Marcus Jooste was this charismatic man who could fool everyone because he was so well liked and seemed infallible almost. Why is that a dangerous situation to be in?
Well, I think if you look at this specific event, but also others in the recent past, both here and internationally, if there's a crisis of this nature and the CEO is implicated, it usually points to a governance problem inside the organization in terms of the balance of power. Remember, the CEO is the person who is appointed by the board of directors and reports to the board. But if you have a position where the CEO makes all the calls and really almost bullies the board into making decisions or accepting decisions that he or she, mostly he, would make, then it clearly points to a problem in terms of corporate governance, and the board itself should ask itself very serious questions about their own role in the governance process.
I like that you said mostly he there, Mr. Malan. So we know that in South Africa, historically, boards have been all white and all male. Is that a contributing factor in the kinds of scandals that we see come to the fore?
I think that lack of diversity on a board is a problem around the world. Because if you remember, the board is the custodian of corporate governance. It has to provide that strategic direction to the company. And you have a board where everybody looks the same and, more importantly, perhaps even thinks the same, then you cannot really expect that board to come up with innovation, to ask critical questions, because you have groupthink, you have people who think the same. They probably, in some cases, will protect each other, and they won't be willing to ask the difficult questions, and that is to the detriment of the company itself.
And do you think we're doing enough to move past that and have more diverse boards? I mean, are we changing the makeup radically of these boards at a quick enough pace?
I think it's certainly changing, and you can see the diversity in terms of gender and race, for example. But remember, diversity goes way beyond that. It also looks to the skills and the experience and the industry background of individuals. And I think we've seen change in terms of more diversity. Unfortunately, in some cases, if people are appointed to a board to make up the diversity numbers and they do not have the requisite skills, then it's also not an ideal situation. So we have to embark on a process, and there are organizations doing a lot of work in this area to make sure that competent directors across the board are developed and develop the requisite skills and knowledge to be an effective director on any board.
And I mean, is diversity the quick fix we need, or is there still the danger that if everyone's just interested in making a whole lot of money by any means necessary, the same kinds of things will persist?
I think diversity is an important piece of the puzzle, but if we look at corporate governance as a whole, the board has to provide that strategic direction. It has to understand that it is there to provide direction, to make the company more effective and more profitable, even though it is within South Africa, within an inclusive stakeholder-based environment. And if the board really understands that, and understand that it's not only about compliance and control, but really driving the enterprise forward, combined with a diverse board with a lot of people that can bring something extra into that discussion, then you really have a recipe for success.
All right. That is Professor Daniel Malan from Stellenbosch University's Business School, who's saying diverse boards might be the answer we need in corporate South Africa to get a grip on some of these rather corrupt business practices we've seen in the past.
Diverse boards and more independent directors, I guess. Pheladi Sethusam in Cape Town, thank you very much indeed.